Well, but I want to talk to everyone here. Thank you all for being so patient. My name's Moby, and thank you all for standing here and bearing silent witness to the hundreds of billions of animals who are killed each year for human purposes. What you can't see possibly are the coffins up here. And looking at these coffins, it made me realize a conversation I had a long time ago with some animal rights friends of mine. And we realized that when a human being kills an animal on a factory farm, in some ways that's the most merciful thing that will ever happen to that animal. Because at least when the animal dies, its suffering ends. And that's so horrifying that death is the only mercy that hundreds of billions of animals ever receive at the hands of humans. So I've been a vegan for 30 years, and I wrote notes. But like almost everybody else, I grew up in the suburbs, and I grew up with what I think of as that strange suburban paradox of when I was growing up, I loved animals. We had rescue cats, and we had rescued dogs, and rescued lizards, and rescued rats and mice, and I loved these animals, but at the same time, I ate animals. It was almost as if I had two different brains in my head, the brain that loved animals and the brain that loved going to Burger King. And then when I was 19 years old, I was petting a rescue cat of mine named Tucker, and I had, in an instant, this epiphany. And the epiphany was that this cat, Tucker, whom I loved, had two eyes, a central nervous system, and an incredibly rich emotional life, and a desire to avoid pain and suffering. And in an instant, I suddenly realized every animal with two eyes and a central nervous system has a deep desire to avoid pain and suffering and simply live their lives. And in a way, I feel like our job is simply to heal that paradox, to get people, we don't have to teach people anything that they don't already know, you know, because 99% of the people on the planet, you know, like barring the Trump family, love animals. So we don't have to teach people to love animals, we just have to remind them that it's inconsistent to love some animals and kill others. That it's inconsistent to care about the animals that are close to you, but support the slaughter and torture of other animals. And as I mentioned, I've been a vegan now for 30 years and an animal rights activist for almost 40 years. And animal rights is my life's work. And in some ways, there's a lot that's incredibly discouraging. You know, in 2017, approximately 100 billion animals will be killed by humans for human purposes, possibly even more. So it's 100 billion animals. And of course, in the process, those animals are going to be used for food and cause climate change, rainforest deforestation, heart disease, cancer, diabetes. So we create all this suffering to create more suffering. And so it's very depressing and incredibly dispiriting. But having been doing this for a while, what I can say is it's getting better. You know, 30 years ago, veganism was so obscure, no one knew how to pronounce it. You know, you'd go into a vegetarian restaurant and you would say, "Do you have vegan food?" And they'd say, "Is that what it's called?" So now we have heads of state and senators and leaders, cultural leaders who are vegan. Because ultimately we all know that's the right choice to make. For the animals, for ourselves, for the planet. I was having a conversation with Cory Booker, who's our vegan senator, and we were talking about the Martin Luther King Jr. quote, which is, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And that's applied to so many other things in our world and in our lives. And it will apply to animals. It just can't happen soon enough. But the nice thing is, everybody here, as daunting as it is, we're on the right side of history. And so I want to congratulate every single person here for being involved with and really what for me is one of the most important issues, if not the most important issue that we've ever faced as a species. So the one thing I want to encourage people is make this your life's work. You know, we live in a world where clearly people lack purpose, and they spend so much time just wasting their energy, wasting their money, wasting their resources. Use your life and your resources to save animals and to make the world a better place. In the process, if you're an activist, you have to take care of yourself. I've seen a lot of people in this movement burn themselves out. Get enough sleep, eat well, take care of yourself. But ultimately, I hope you all agree with me that there's an old quote that says, animals are not ours to eat, wear, or experiment on. And to me, the most important part of that is simply that animals are not ours. They have their own lives, they have their own rights, they have their own wills. And we need to support that and respect that. So now if we can have 3 minutes, moment of silence for the 100 billion animals who are killed at the hands of humans every year. Thank you.
and she